As you've been saying, there's a great emphasis on the fact that there's so many leaders in Coshocton that are moving in the same direction and working together. And that, without a doubt, makes our community unique. And it's an exception and unusual, I think.
It's time for Coshocton Conversations. From deep dives to lighthearted chats, host Kirby Hasseman will keep you up to date on the most important topics and events in Coshocton County. Now, here's the latest Coshocton Conversation.
Well, hey there, and welcome to a brand new episode of Coshocton Conversations. I am your host, Kirby Hasseman. Coshocton Conversations is our brand new podcast where we just like to have conversations with local leaders, entrepreneurs, salespeople, and other folks who are leading the way in Coshocton County. Coshocton Conversations is brought to you by Hasseman Marketing, your one-stop marketing shop here in Coshocton County. You can learn more about us at hassemanmarketing.com. Joining me today is Stephanie Conrad. She wears a lot of hats here in Coshocton County. She's president of the local board of Realtors. She works at Century 21 and at Fidelity Title as well, right?
That's correct.
Okay, so we wanted to talk about all things real estate and a bunch of things like that, Stephanie. So thank you so much for taking the time. I appreciate it.
Of course. Thank you. I appreciate this opportunity.
Absolutely. You always do a great job. So let's jump right in. I mean, the reality of it is we both know, the past couple of years, the real estate market has been, we were just discussing it before we started recording. It's been like we've never seen it.
Yeah.
It's been really amazing in Coshocton County. So I don't know if this is a fair question or not, but what are some reasons that you think that you're seeing for this sort of boom in the real estate in Coshocton?
Right. Well, boom is quite the word. It's been a whirlwind. I mean, the last few years they've been interesting. They've been unique. We've had to navigate some highs and lows in the real estate market. There's definitely been a huge impact by COVID. Mm-hmm. A lot of people able to transition and work from home. So you have a lot of folks from the big city coming into the area. They're finding that they're able to shift gears a little bit and switch and transition to home offices. They're finding that properties in Coshocton County price per square foot is a lot more reasonable than where they're from. Price per acre is also a lot more reasonable if they're looking to build. Property taxes are so much lower, and just the overall cost of living is a lot more manageable. And there's so many attractive traits in the Coshocton community that are really appealing to out-of-town buyers. We have a number of beautiful parks. We have our campgrounds, the public hunting ground at Woodbury, for example. We have our aquatic center, Kids of America, restaurants. I mean, the list goes on and on. So we don't really have to promote Coshocton. You can just drive up and down Main Street, and it kind of promotes and speaks for itself.
Yeah, one of the things, and I think it at least for someone like you, I'm sure saw this a little bit, but for me, it snuck up on me in the sense that you'd see houses selling quicker and quicker as this went. But what snuck up on me was the idea that you're like, people weren't leaving, but more people were coming.
Oh, yeah.
And so you're like, oh, how long can this possibly last? And so it was neat to me to see people who maybe I graduated with years ago all of a sudden looking to relocate, or people coming from out of town. It kind of, I don't know, it made my heart feel good that, hey, all this stuff I've been seeing for years, other people are starting to see too. And I thought that was cool.
Yeah, it's exciting. I have some stats. I love the stats. I like the
love
numbers.
it.
So last year, combined days on the market in our MLS was about 60 days. So total days of the market from the time a property was listed and it actually closed. So if you consider the fact, once you go under contract, it's 30 to 45 days before we close. 60 days is awesome. Compared to 2020, that combined days on the market was 84. So last year, 2021, 400 residential homes sold throughout the county. Compared to 2020, we were at 373.
Okay.
Average sale price is 167 last year. But I think the most exciting stat is the fact that the average seller got 98.7% of their original asking price.
Wow.
So 98.7 compared to 2020, we were 94.4. So, I mean, sellers got the most amount of money that they have in years past. And that's a result of multiple offers, without a doubt. And the sellers, agents just working really hard to price those properties appropriately.
Yeah, that's really cool. So, obviously those are all, I'm so glad you came prepared with those stats because I love the numbers of it. But what do you think we can do to keep it rolling?
Well, I think we need to keep the momentum up, but we really need, in order for those annual closed transactions to stay between that 300 and 400 units sold every year, we need our inventory to go up drastically. Right. I mean, we're averaging between 15 and 30 homes countywide on the market right now. So that's a struggle for buyers. They're pre-approved, they're ready to go, they're anxious to secure a house, and they just can't. It's difficult.
And perspective, I mean, when you say that there are, you said 15 to 30 homes, right?
Yeah.
So you figure not all those homes are going to be in whatever price range they're looking for, right? Like if you're a buyer that wants a bigger home and there's only so many. So it's like it really does limit your choice in
without
that way.
a doubt.
Yeah, that's a fascinating challenge, right?
Right.
And I know that there's talk about can you build, can you do this? That's all fine and good, but there are limitations with that as well.
Oh, absolutely, without question. I mean, again, our price per acre is still great, but securing the right size, getting in a septic, getting in a well, and you would be surprised the number of out-of-town buyers who I've worked with just this past year. The concept of a well and septic is
it's foreign to them.
Oh, absolutely. They want nothing to do with it.
Right.
So securing a lot with city utilities is difficult too. Yeah. So again, I'm hoping that market opens up. Really, I think a solid market for buyers is anywhere between 60 and 80 homes countywide. And something else I wanted to touch on, what we experienced in 2022 and then the year before. A lot of folks were refinancing. So had they considered selling, they kind of put the stop to that because they feared they would sell quickly and not be able to find another property. Oh, yeah. So they refinanced. And a lot of the refis that we saw come through Fidelity Title were between 2.5% and 3.5%. And so that was killer. I mean, kudos to our local loan officers that really pounded the pavement to secure that process for sellers. But again, they just flipped and improved upon what they had versus taking the plunge and trying to sell. So that was a difficult challenge for us as well.
I think your point is super well taken because I can't tell you how many people I talk to where they're like, things are selling so fast, I don't know where I would go. So that is it's one of those where you don't necessarily think of that through the realtor's eyes. You're like, well, I don't have anything to sell.
Right. And I did want to mention there were a couple of local lenders who reached out directly to their lien holders, and encourage them to refinance. I don't know if I can mention anyone specific. So home loan, I had heard they were reaching out to their clients and saying, hey, come in and refinance. And I think it's great that they did that because in the long haul, they probably lost some money doing that, but at the risk of their clients going elsewhere and getting a better rate. Yeah, I mean, that spoke volumes, I think, for that specific institution.
Yeah, I think that's great. So one project that I'm really excited about, and it's one of those, it's kind of a quiet project, is the Broadband initiative that the commissioners have been working toward. They've thrown, $6 million behind. In my mind, that's a big deal for people who want to build in the county or want to live in the county. Do you see that as a positive initiative for real estate?
Oh, it's major. I mean, it's priceless. It's invaluable. You can speak to the commissioners and they will tell you that the discussions about expanding broadband started when they attended a Coshocton County Board of Realtors meeting because we were honest with our frustrations. There's a lot of out-of-town buyers and even our local buyers, again, working from home, that, really need that better quality internet service. And I can't reiterate that enough. I have buyers right now that would like to move here from Michigan. And they love our area for the rolling hillsides, for the wineries, for Roscoe Village. But he'll be working from home for at least another 4 to 5 years. And that's the top thing on their list of criteria, of course, is internet, above everything else.
COVID shined a light that we already knew. We already knew that was a challenge for our community, I think, but COVID shined a light brightly on that when all of a sudden we had to do schoolwork at home. We had to work from home. It wasn't like it was just for a while that was just a perk, and then it became it was just a must. And so I agree with you. I think that's a really big deal, and kudos to the commissioners for doing that. So let me transition just a little bit. I'm kind of curious. what role do you see as that realtors play in sort of creating a vibrant community? I don't always think of it through that hat, but I was kind of curious to know what your thoughts were.
Right. Well, I have to say a lot of our local realtors are invested themselves.
Yeah.
They're buying the multifamily homes. They're buying the commercial properties and rehabbing those. They're buying the single family homes and flipping those and improving the overall appearance and improving the neighborhood. And it's spearheading and encouraging others to do the same thing. Out-of-town buyers coming into our area, their first interaction is with us as the real estate professionals. And so they're really looking to us to shine a positive light on our community and instill some excitement within them and their families to call Coshocton home. And I don't find that to be a challenge. And I would say that's the case with most of our real estate agents.
Yeah, I 100% agree, by the way, in the sense that I years ago, I don't know that that all the real estate agents were as excited about the community, and I think it showed. And I think now you see a vibrancy that is refreshing, and to be honest, that I think is really important. Again, you're the folks that they're talking to when they come. So.
Yeah, if we're not excited, why would they be excited? And I did want to touch on, so we have 48 local real estate agents that belong to the Coshocton County Board of Realtors. Okay. And so again, we had to get pretty creative during COVID. We had to pivot and navigate, and we all have different levels of experience. We all have different perspectives, but we all have very similar values at our core. And I'm just so proud of our organization. We all are very competitive. Sure. I mean, it is the nature of the business. We're looking at those rankings and those reports and what have you. But at the end of the day, competition is really good. And I think that shows within our organization. We're all colleagues, but we're all friends, and we admire and trust one another. Yeah. And at the end of the day, we're all just working towards that smooth and seamless sale. And our common goal is to meet the needs and expectations of our clients. So I'm just so appreciative to all of the local Coshocton County Board of Realtors. They're all wonderful.
That's cool. That's really cool. So I'm curious, and I'm going off sort of my questions for you just for 1 second. One thing I've heard, I'm hearing of here in our community, but in other communities where people are buying houses sight unseen.
Oh, absolutely.
And so did technology play a part in that?
Oh, without question. I love to talk to agents even in different markets. So I spoke to one agent in the Columbus market yesterday, and I'm so thankful to be in our small town community and have the relationships we do. A lot of virtual tours happening with COVID guidelines and what have you, people not wanting to risk, the interaction. A lot of, I think this answers your question, but a lot of electronic signing via the dot-loop platforms and what have you. And not only because of COVID, but because clients were having to act so quickly,
that was what I was gonna say.
Time was of the essence. And if you didn't have a good bearing on that electronic signing and how to navigate your clients through that process, you possibly lost a deal. Yeah. So we definitely had to get creative when it comes to technology and knowing how to best serve our clients.
It was fascinating how many times I heard somebody say, my realtor walked through it with the FaceTime and showed me it. And I was like, let's make an offer. And it was, they were talking about it through the necessity of acting quickly, that things were going off the market quickly. And if you are from another city, and a listing comes on in Coshocton, sometimes it necessitated quicker movement. So that's pretty interesting. So I'm curious to know, again, as a person who is selling our community in real estate, what are some things that you're most excited about?
Right. Well, there's a laundry list. I mean, just kind of on our home front, I'm excited about the investment in our school districts. Our two boys, Grayson and Gentry, will go to Riverview. Okay. And I know that school district is really looking at all of their options right now. And I trust that those decision makers are going to make the best decision, and whatever the outcome will be, it will be in the best interest of the children. Sure. I'm excited about the continued facelift on Main Street. I don't think that can be spoken about enough, just how exciting that transformation has been. The new park project on County Road 1A, where the old Skips Refuse used to be. And as you've been saying, there's a great emphasis on the fact that there's so many leaders in Coshocton that are moving in the same direction and working together. And that, without a doubt, makes our community unique. And it's an exception and unusual, I think.
I agree 100%. It's kudos to them, right? Like the folks who, city, county, port authority, chamber, we were just talking about at a meeting you and I were at.
Right.
It is exciting to see. And that's when I think good things happen, is because then people can go, oh, well, that's where those grant dollars should go. Or, oh, that's what we're prepared for to do next. So that's cool. So final question for you. You're doing great. Thank you. I always try to see if there's I ask everybody this question, sort of, what's an organization, individual, anything going on in Coshocton County that they're seeing them do good work?
Right. I know we've touched on this already, but Tiffany Swiger at the Port Authority and her staff, the commissioner's office, I think everyone knows at this point the excitement of the investment with Intel in the county next door.
Yeah.
So it may be maybe 2, 3, 4 years before we see that impact in Coshocton directly, but I have to believe they will have a housing shortage over there, and it will flow into our area. And I know that between the Port Authority, the commissioners, and other leaders within Coshocton, they're already trying to pave the way for that expansion. We're 30, 45 minutes away from that new development, so that's exciting. I know they're spearheading some massive projects to make Coshocton attractive. They are already doing that with the internet services.
Yeah.
And so, again, I hope that they can determine how we can get some subdivisions out there, and we can get some local contractors to really take the plunge and build some spec houses. Hopefully with city utilities, but we're managed if there's a well and a septic on there.
Yeah, I tell you, it is interesting. And one of the things that got me excited about this, Stephanie, is that you're exactly right. I think most of us looking forward heard about Intel and we're like, congrats, Licking County. But that's gonna affect us as well. And almost immediately you could see the commissioners and you said the Port Authority immediately started thinking about, okay, so what can we do to set ourselves up,
right?
Be progressive and kind of be ready for that when that comes. And I that's exciting to me when you see folks being proactive in that way. And so I agree with you. I think kudos are well deserved there. So, well, cool, Stephanie, you've done it. I appreciate you taking the time to have a conversation with me. The goal for this is, just to kind of keep the positive conversations moving forward. Keep telling that story. I think, for many years, we didn't do this intentionally, and so that's what this is about. So I appreciate you being a part of it.
Thank you so much for your time.
You bet. Well, hey, if you've enjoyed this, please feel free to subscribe. We are about everywhere you can get a podcast. If you go to Apple or Spotify or any of those places, you can subscribe to the podcast there, or you can always find us at choosecoshocton.com and click on the blog link. So thank you so much for listening, and we will see you next time.
Thank you so much for listening to the latest Coshocton Conversation. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and be sure to visit choosecoshocton.com.